The History of Skateboarding and Genesis of Rodney Mullen. Chapter 1. The Sidewalk Surfers 1940s-1950s. To understand skateboarding, you have to look at the ocean. Post-World War II, California was the epicenter of a massive surfing boom. Young men and women spent their days at coastal beaches like Santa Monica, Venice, and Malibu, chasing the physical euphoria of riding waves. But the ocean is fickle. When the wind shifted and the water went completely flat, surfers were left stranded on the sand with an excess of restless energy. They needed a way to recreate the fluid sensation of carving a wave, but on dry land. The solution was dangerous, unregulated, and entirely homemade. Kids began dismantling old metal roller skates, prying off the steel or clay wheel assemblies, and nailing them to the bottom of wooden planks, 2x4 beams, or discarded wooden fruit crates. If they used a crate, they would nail a handlebar to the top, creating a primitive scooter. Eventually, the crates were ripped off, leaving only the bare wood underneath. They called it sidewalk surfing. These first boards possessed no steering mechanisms, no flexibility, and virtually no traction. The wheels were loud and rigid, sending violent vibrations through the rider's legs with every crack in the pavement. There were no tricks. The goal was simply to survive a hill, leaning hard into turns, and dragging a bare foot on the asphalt to slow down. It was a localized, barefoot backyard hobby born out of boredom, but it planted the seed for a global counterculture. Chapter 2. The First Commercial Wave and the Great Crash 1960s. By the turn of the 1960s, the homemade toy caught the attention of surf manufacturers who realized they could market this coastal lifestyle to kids across the entire country. In 1959, the Roller Derby Skateboard Company released the first mass-produced, pre-assembled skateboard. It featured a thick red deck and clay wheels. Shortly after, iconic surf brands like Valsurf and Makaha began designing professional models that mirrored miniature surfboards, utilizing pressed layers of wood and improved roller skate trucks that allowed for actual turning. In 1963, the sport reached a major milestone when Makaha sponsored the first official skateboarding contest at Hermosa Beach, California. Skateboarding was no longer just an alternative to surfing, it was developing its own disciplines. Riders competed in downhill slalom, weaving through tightly spaced cones at high speeds, and freestyle, which consisted of ballet-like spins, handstands, and wheelies on flat pavement. By 1965, skateboarding appeared on international television, featured on ABC's Wide World of Sports, and prominent skaters graced the cover of Life magazine. It was a nationwide craze. But the industry was built on a deeply flawed foundation. The wheels were still made of compressed clay or steel. If a skater traveled down a hill at 20 miles per hour and hit a single small pebble, the wheel stopped instantly, launching the rider onto the concrete. Fractures, concussions, and severe road rash became a public health crisis. Cities began banning skateboards on public streets. Police confiscated boards, parental groups protested, and insurance companies withdrew coverage. By the end of 1965, the boom collapsed almost overnight. Retailers canceled orders, manufacturers went bankrupt, and the mainstream public dismissed skateboarding as a dangerous, short-lived fad. For the next 7 years, the sport went completely underground. Chapter 3. The Urethane Revolution and the Dogtown Inventions 1970s. Skateboarding survived in the dark throughout the late 1960s, kept alive by a small, dedicated core of purists. Then, a single material science breakthrough completely revolutionized the sport. In 1972, a man named Frank Nasworthy discovered urethane, a flexible, durable plastic compound. He realized this material could be molded into wheels. He formed Cadillac wheels, and the sport changed forever. Urethane wheels gripped the concrete, smoothed out pebbles, and absorbed the harsh vibrations of the road. Suddenly, skaters could reach unprecedented speeds, corner at extreme angles without slipping, and skate safely on surfaces that were previously unrideable. Recognizing the massive potential, truck manufacturers like Tracker and Independent began designing wider, heavy-duty aluminum axles specifically for skateboards, moving past repurposed roller skate parts forever. This technical revolution coincided with a historic environmental crisis. In the mid-1970s, a severe drought struck Southern California. To conserve water, municipal governments restricted water usage, and thousands of affluent suburban families emptied their backyard swimming pools. At the same time, a group of rebellious, low-income teenagers from the rough Dogtown district of Santa Monica, known as the Zephyr Competition Team or the Z-Boys, saw these empty, bowl-shaped structures as concrete waves. Led by teenagers like Tony Alva, Jay Adams, and Stacy Peralta, the Z-Boys brought an aggressive, low-slung, surf-style approach to pool skating. They didn't care about the stiff, upright freestyle tricks of the 1960s. They carved high up the vertical walls of the pools, pushing the boundaries until Tony Alva blasted completely past the concrete lip into the air, re-entering the pool bowl smoothly. Vertical skating was born. This lawless, trespass-heavy movement forced the construction of the world's first commercial skateparks, beginning with Carlsbad, California, in 1976, featuring custom concrete bowls and snake runs. Chapter 4: The Freestyle Genesis of Rodney Mullen, late 1970s, 1980. While the West Coast was exploding with the raw, aggressive vertical pool skating of the Z-Boys, a completely different type of revolution was brewing in rural Florida. In 1977, an 11-year-old boy named Rodney Mullen was finally allowed to get a skateboard, but under a strict condition from his military-minded dentist father. The moment he got hurt, the board would be taken away forever. To avoid injury, Rodney avoided the dangerous vertical ramps and skate parks altogether. Instead, he retreated to the smooth, flat concrete of his family's farm garage. In total isolation, practicing for hours on end, Rodney began reimagining what could be done on a skateboard. He focused on freestyle, a stagnant discipline that still resembled 1960s gymnastics on a moving board. But Rodney approached it with the precision of a chess player and the grace of a dancer. By 1980, at just 13 years old, Rodney entered the Oasis Pro Freestyle contest and defeated the reigning world champion, Russ Howell. It was during this era that vertical skating met a major mechanical roadblock. In 1978, a Florida vert skater named Alan Gelfand figured out how to slam his back foot on the tail of his board while jumping. Scooping the board into the air without using his hands on a vert ramp wall, he nicknamed the trick the ollie. It was an incredible feat, but it only worked on vertical walls where gravity and momentum helped hold the board to the skater's feet. In 1982, Rodney Mullen achieved what many thought was physically impossible. He took Gelfand's vertical mechanic and translated it to flat ground. By combining a precise tail snap with a timed sliding motion of his front foot, Rodney popped his board into the air, leveled it out, and landed cleanly on flat pavement. The flatground ollie was born. This single invention completely rewrote the DNA of skateboarding. It transformed the board from a vehicle that required a specialized hill or ramp into a tool that could manipulate gravity anywhere on Earth. Stacy Peralta immediately recognized Rodney's unmatched genius and signed him to the legendary Powell Peralta Bones Brigade. Rodney became the technical anchor of the team. Throughout the 1980s, Rodney didn't just win contests, he completely monopolized them. He entered 35 freestyle competitions and won 34 of them, establishing an undefeated streak that will never be matched in sporting history. More importantly, Rodney used his isolated garage sessions to invent virtually every foundational trick used in modern skateboarding. During this decade, he single-handedly created the kickflip, the heelflip, the impossible, the 360 flip, the inward heelflip, the varial flip, and advanced balance variations like the Casper stall and 50-50 truck stands. Through the Bones Brigade's revolutionary VHS videos, such as The Search for Animal Chin, kids worldwide watched Rodney defy physics. He became the true architect of the sport's vocabulary, providing the physical mechanics that allowed skaters to manipulate their boards in 3 dimensions. Chapter 5: Rodney Mullen and the Street Technical Revolution, 1990s. As the 1980s ended, the multi-million-dollar vertical ramp industry collapsed under its own weight. Ramps were torn down, and freestyle skating fell out of fashion. Rodney Mullen found himself at a crossroads. His father pressured him to retire and focus on university, where Rodney was studying chemical engineering. The industry entered a deep recession, and skateboarding stripped itself of all corporate pretense, retreating entirely to the streets. Skaters abandoned the wooden backyard ramps and began using Rodney's flatground ollie to jump onto urban plazas, public handrails, and concrete ledges. Realizing that his beloved freestyle was fading, Rodney did the unthinkable. He completely reinvented himself as a street skater. He adapted the technical flip tricks he had created in his garage and applied them to the gritty, high-impact world of curbs, stairs, and handrails. To accommodate this explosive street movement, Rodney used his understanding of physics and engineering to help redesign the skateboard itself. The wide, heavy directional boards of the 1980s with flat noses were obsolete. Rodney helped pioneer the standardized, symmetrical, double-kick popsicle stick shape used today, featuring a curved nose and a curved tail to allow tricks to be done interchangeably in normal or switch stances. In 1992, Rodney left Powell Peralta to co-found World Industries with Steve Rocco. World Industries became a powerhouse, fiercely independent and skater-owned. Rodney spearheaded a new era of street technicality. In iconic video parts for magazines and companies like Plan B, Rodney shocked the world by introducing switch stance skating, dark slides, and late flips. He proved that he wasn't just a relic of the old freestyle days. He was the primary guiding force behind modern street tech. By 1995, the mainstream returned with massive capital through the launch of ESPN's X Games. In 1999, Tony Hawk landed the first-ever 900-degree spin on live television, and later that year, Activision released the monumentally successful Tony Hawk's Pro Skater video game franchise. Rodney Mullen was a central character in the game. For millions of kids worldwide who grew up playing the game, Rodney wasn't just a skater. He was a living legend whose mind-boggling special moves were actually based on real physics he had mastered decades prior in a Florida garage. Chapter 6: The Unchanging Soul and the Godfather's Legacy. 2000 as present. In the 21st century, skateboarding evolved into a borderless, multi-billion-dollar global phenomenon, culminating in its historic official debut at the Summer Olympic Games. Today, stadium crowds watch elite athletes execute hyper-technical street runs and massive park aerials under the global spotlight. Yet if you trace the lineage of every single trick performed on the Olympic stage, every kickflip down a giant stair set, every hard flip over a gap, every technical combination on a handrail, you find the fingerprint of one man. Rodney Mullen is universally recognized as the godfather of modern skateboarding. He took a crude backyard toy and turned it into an expressive, open-ended canvas of human movement. Rodney's legacy goes far beyond his competitive record or his list of inventions. His deep, philosophical approach to failure and creativity has made him a highly sought-after speaker for tech conferences, universities, and open-source communities. He often speaks about how skateboarding is an art form driven by the beauty of falling down, analyzing the physics of the mistake, and trying again. Despite the corporate sponsorships, the arena lights, and the Olympic gold medals, the soul of skateboarding remains entirely unchanged from Rodney's early days. If you walk into any city plaza, suburban cul-de-sac, or rural skatepark late at night, you will see a skater sweating and bruised, trying the exact same trick for the 50th time. They will fail, they will slam against the concrete, they will pick themselves up, adjust their board, and try again, because skateboarding is not about winning a trophy. It is a deeply personal, intensely spiritual pursuit of conquering the impossible. It is a four-wheeled rebellion against limitation, a celebration of resilience, and an eternal declaration of human freedom written on the asphalt by the hands of Rodney Mullen. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below what you thought. Thanks for watching.